Hello and welcome to commentary for High Performance Imports V9. This is the first of the bonus tracks on that DVD, which was the trip to Shiroi Carland in Hokkaido. It was my second time in Hokkaido, and I had a really good time actually driving around and visiting workshops and going to events like this, which was a drag racing event. Shiroi Carland is not really a proper drag strip, but on this occasion they did set it up for 400 meters or 1,320 feet, and they were sending all kinds of different cars down there. So let's have a look.
If you saw HPI V8, you might remember Shiroi Carland. This circuit in southern Hokkaido has a long enough straight for drag racing, though it isn't entirely flat. At their annual festival, they had lights set up for some street drag cars. The starting official is a bit better looking than most.
As it happens, that starting official, to call that, is Mika, who later married Tezuka, the D1 driver. I actually met her for the first time at this event, and strangely enough, a few years later, I was at their wedding in Nagoya, which, even more strangely, was the third wedding that I'd been to in Japan at that point. Mika is actually from Hokkaido, and for this event, obviously she was what would you call it, race queen? Uh, basically a model, making everything look better. And there was actually a magazine there doing photo shoots, so she was busy with them too.
The track surface was only just dry after rain in the morning, so traction was hard to come by. Except for the four-wheel drive cars, that is. The star attraction of the drags was this R33 running on slicks. On closer inspection, we discovered it was none other than the famous Arpex-built VMAX car, which ran an 8.5 second pass in America. It has since been sold to a dealer in Hokkaido, who has painted it purple and just takes it out for fun. The engine hasn't changed a bit, still running twin RX6 turbos and a dry sump oiling system. The doors are carbon fibre, along with the dash, which has a specially modified Arpex Power FC computer.
Gotta love having 3 exhaust pipes out the side of your car.
Mounted in the middle. "15-inch wheels require smaller brakes to be fitted, with small Nissan rear calipers fitted to the front and back. The boot floor and the lower half of the bumper have been removed as part of the weight loss program.
It's also for aerodynamic reasons. It's better on a drag car not to have those attached.
It's hard to believe he bought a car like this just for laughs.
There's Mika posing for a photo while this guy's doing a burnout.
There's the Shiroi promo girl again, posing for a burnout shot. Certainly a long enough burnout, but it still has issues with traction.
Like he was so busy trying to keep it straight that he forgot to change gear.
The bad launch and a missed gear shift produce a pretty slow time, even for an uphill track, so the team fills it up and sends the driver around for another go. Flat is much more respectable.
I'm not sure what gearbox was in this car, but if it was a Hollinger, what he was doing is really bad. When you pull back on the gear to change, you need to release the gear lever again, and when you hold it back, that can create problems.
But still a long way short of the car's true capabilities. The second half of the day was devoted to circuit racing, with the goal being lap times rather than a proper race. The owner of this road-registered Evo 7 kindly allowed us to fit our in-car camera for a quick lap. The engine is only mildly modified, but there has been plenty of work done on the suspension. He's also gone to some effort to control heat in the engine bay and get cool air to the airbox. The exhaust system is all titanium, and the interior has been partially stripped to save more weight.
A car like this would be really, really good to drive. You can see he's actually taped a piece of foam on the side of the console there to rest his knee against, and I'm sure he rests his other knee against the roll bar. But yeah, a well-tuned Evo 7/89 Evo like this is probably one of the best JDM cars of that era.
The main straight is quite long, so he hits 230 k's before braking hard for the sweeper. Corners are all quite open and flowing until he reaches the double hairpin, where he actually uses the handbrake to drift into the first turn.
It's a good trick actually if you've got a car that's prone to understeer in a really tight hairpin. Pull the handbrake.
It's certainly very different to most Japanese circuits.
Right, that's it for that quick trip to Shiro Carland. It was absolutely freezing that day, I must tell you, and I really feel for Mika, who was getting around the whole day in a tiny dress. I actually drove down there from Sapporo, which is only about a 2, maybe 3 hour drive. But I was in a car called a Mitsubishi Dingo, which I found hilarious for obvious reasons. And at one point, I took the wrong road and was trying to enter this track from a side that was actually shut, and found myself on about a foot deep snow in a Mitsubishi Dingo, which is not really an off-road car. It was technically four-wheel drive, but it only had little wheels and not very much power. So I was quite happy I was able to reverse out of that road and get back around to this event. Anyway, I'm going to go straight into the next bonus feature from HPI V9. So I'll see you very soon. And here I am again. So this is the second bonus feature from HPI V9, and this was just something I couldn't find a way really to include in the coverage for the second HPI drift nets. But it was a little battle between Tezuka in, I think, the Ricol S13 and Bo Yates, who had just won the privateer class on the day. It was a very interesting little battle because there was Tezuka, a seasoned D1 driver, driving a car he didn't find particularly easy to drive, and Bo Yates, who was in his own car that he was very familiar with. But what was really off-putting for Tezuka is he had absolutely no idea how Bo would drive and how he would react to things on the circuit. And he said this is probably one of the most nervy parts of the entire day. So anyway, let's have a look.
At the end of the second drift nats, the D1 drivers are asked to do battle laps with Australian drivers. We're riding with Tezuka as he takes on Sydney drifter Bo Yates.
Under the circumstances, he got him pretty close there on the last corner. I'm sure Bo would remember this very, very warmly. It was a pretty unusual opportunity to have back then.
After 2 laps behind Bo, Tezuka takes the lead. It seems he forgot our instructions about not drifting over the bridge. As Tezuka comes back in, he realises Bo is still drifting behind him, so he comes into the pits fairly fast. Later, he admitted that it was pretty scary not knowing what an Australian drifter would do.
Actually, I think Tezuka forgot that he was meant to do 2 leading laps in front of Bo. Mind you, I think his tyres might have already been gone by then. So, yeah, interesting little piece of Australian drift history there. I'll be back very shortly with the third bonus track from HPI V9. Okay, so this is it, the third bonus track from High Performance Imports V9. This is going back to the first Drift Nationals in Melbourne, and it's basically some footage of what went on behind the scenes the day before the event, when a bunch of D1 drivers were thrashing the hell out of my S13. Pretty funny to watch.
Fresh racing.
You may wonder why the HPI Sylvia didn't last the whole day at the first drift nats.
A lot harder, eh?
This behind-the-scenes practice footage might give you some idea. 4 of the D1 drivers arrived on
So there on the right with the black and yellow shirt is Martin Donnan. I'm sure a lot of you know. And he was having a bit of fun talking to the Japanese drivers with his very limited Japanese. The main expression he knew was big boobs in Japanese, which they found very funny.
Friday, and after being entertained by Martin Donnan, each driver took the Sylvia out for a thrash. First Ken Sato, then Tatani.
So a little bit of background on this car. I bought it from an auction in Fukuoka and had it shipped to Australia. I think I paid probably only about $2,000, something like that. I mean, it was an unregistered car in Japan, which automatically made it cheaper. And clearly it was an ex-drift car. And the wheels that are on the car there are what it came with. It had a pair of 16-inch Watanabes on the front. And I think they were Hashimi Sport 15s on the back, which are really old and obscure. It had a couple of neat features, though. It had a little ARC oil cooler, which you can see there between the headlights. And it had an ARC intercooler as well. But it was a little side mount one behind the big vent on the left side of the bumper. The bumper was actually from Top Secret, I think. Certainly one of the early Japanese tuning houses. And it was well designed actually to feed a lot of air to the intercooler. So despite the fact that it was really just a mildly tuned car, it actually performed pretty well.
Then Hibino, who didn't care too much about the tyre delaminating.
Gauges under the dash there were already there. I think they were Omori gauges. I did put in the red race seat, though. It had normal seats when I bought it.
You'll soon see why it made such a big bang.
The tyre let go.
The belt actually hit hard enough to dent in the rear quarter panel, with the flailing rubber giving the car some unique graphics.
Had a few of my favourite stickers on the back window there. There was a Ura sticker, the famous High Performance Imports magazine sticker that said "Because local cars suck" under it. And the car in the picture on that little blue sticker was actually the R32 from Shiroi Carland in HPI V8. The one in the middle is actually a Kenworks sticker, which I got from Ken Sato, obviously.
Finally, Tezuka climbed in to have a go on some fresh tyres. All things considered, we're surprised it lasted to the competition day at all.
Yeah, it was a real shame it didn't quite make it very far through the actual competition day. But I think it made a pretty good account of itself for a car that only cost me about $2,000. Of course, that's $2,000 in Japan, not including shipping it here and all the other rubbish. But still, in today's money, a very cheap S13. So that's it for High Performance Imports V9. I might have a bit of a treat coming for you when I start doing High Performance Imports V10. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and I'm sure you will enjoy. Cheers.